Good. So we're up to I. R-E-W-I-R-E, rewire. I. What's the I about then? Well, this is I for investigate. So far, we've recognized those scripts, or at least one in particular that you're working through. The things that we say to ourselves over and over and over again that then become beliefs. One of them could be, I'm not cut out for public speaking. I'm shy. I'm an introvert. You get the idea. So we've recognized that script. We've looked at it from a exhale, change state. Once you've realized that you're in that state, you're processing that one again. You blow it out, you do the breathing. If any of this is unfamiliar, go back and check the previous episodes, please. Thirdly, last week we looked at W for wonder. Is there ever an opportunity, ever an example, a time, a context where that particular script could be helpful? And if there is, you consciously choose to keep hold of it. But in every other situation, you go, let's flip it, let's change it, let's reframe it. So that's where we're at with the W last week. That was one side of the wonder. The other side of the wonder is the what if. Not what if could go wrong, but what if I could actually inspire people with my words, with my voice? I don't have to be all rah-rah like Tony Robbins. He does him very well. You don't need to do it. You do you. So that's where we got to last week. I, which is where we're at this week, is for investigate. Now, this is where I'd like you to don your Dear Stalker, Sherlock Holmes style. You don't have to do the pipe. The magnifying glass out. Investigate. When you hear yourself, and you quite possibly do hear yourself saying that script in your head, I want you to take a step back for a minute and go, whose voice can I hear? And it may well be a voice that you recognize, one that spoke that script into you over and over again when you were little. It could be a parent. It could be a teacher. If it happened before the age of 7, it would have been happening by somebody that you trusted. And then, because up until the age of 7, we don't have critical faculty, if you want to get technical, aka the BS monitor that develops as children. And if you think about it, cover up little people's ears right now, particularly at this time of year. That's when children start to question whether the gentleman with the long beard in the red coat actually exists. It's around about 7. Up until then, they're quite happily taking it all in. That and the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny and all of those wonderful tales. But after about 7, they start to go, hang on a minute, not sure I believe that. And that's when we start critically listening and looking at what's being said, what's being done around us, to say whether or not that makes sense to our little developing brains. So prior to that, that's when a lot of the imprinting, a lot of the conditioning happens. So this is why I'm asking you, take that step back from me. Hear the voice that said that script to you over and over again. Now, it might be a voice you recognize. If it's your own voice, then how did you decide that that was something that was accurate? What happened at that time that you decided that was an accurate script? Let me give you a couple of examples on that. There's somebody else's voice. It's your fault. Now, if you've heard that over and over and over again, there could be somebody's voice attached to it, particularly an adult, maybe a parent, who never took responsibility for their own actions, but decided to project their lack of responsibility onto you. I can relate to that one. But I've also got a situation where an early abandonment experience that I had, I chose to believe that my voice didn't matter. That was the decision I made from the circumstance that was around me. My voice didn't matter. I didn't matter because I felt abandoned. Now, that was nobody else's fault. Nobody else was telling me that. That was my own little decision as a 2-year-old from the situation that was going on. Because developmentally, as a 2-year-old, I was the center of my world. Thank you. So if something went wrong, it had to be my fault. Oh, can you see the link here? My point is, sometimes when you think about the investigation, when you get your old magnifying glass out, you can hear the voice of the person who said this to you. Sometimes it's a decision that you yourself have made based on the situation that you found yourself in. Either way, those scripts that you've been running were taken on board as a survival mechanism. Okay, so please give yourself a shed load of compassion and don't go blaming yourself or the other person for it, because you took those on out of necessity to survive in that situation. My question is then, once you've identified, you've investigated where that script came from, is it working for you? That's the big question. Because whilst it worked for you back in the day when you first brought it on, when you first absorbed it, you first decided that wasn't correct, you had to do it. That was all you could do to survive. But now I suspect you're a few years later than that. You've got your critical faculty in working order. But it may well be the first time you've looked at that script and gone, BS. Because it's a belief system, BS, that is not serving you now as the adult version that you are. So that's where we're going with investigate. Where did that script come from? Is it still serving you? Because if it is, like we were doing that last week with the wonder, if there are contexts, if there are some specific situations where as in my case, I can handle this, which was keeping me calm when everybody was doing this with my heart problem, that worked in that context. If when you've done your investigation, you've thought, this isn't working now, that's where we're going to come on to next week. But for this week, I'd like you to really investigate, where did that script come from? Shed load of compassion for you for taking it on. Give a load of compassion for the person who gave it to you, because they were probably doing the best they could at that moment in time, because they may well have been carrying their own baggage, which was certainly the case for me. Okay, bit meaty this week, particularly going into Christmas week, but that's what I got for you. If you get a chance to go, ooh, breathe in amongst all the busyness that's happening this week, whether this is Christmas, whether this is Hanukkah, because I know they're both coinciding, but take that step back. If you get 2 minutes to rub together, sit down with a journal, the journal that you've written down your script in, have that breathing exercise that we talked about. Is there a context where it's useful? Keep it. Consciously let go of it in other ones. Investigate this week. Where did it come from? And then next week, we come on to R. I'll let you in on that next week. And if you happen to miss anything over the next few weeks, they're all here on YouTube. You can come back to them anytime you like. For now, though, have a wonderful Christmas week, Hanukkah week, end of the year, and we'll see you next week. For now.